Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the IKKO High Ear C. This is the latest release from IKKO, a 1+4 hybrid, priced at around the $70 to $80 price bracket. I got this particular unit directly from IKKO, so my thank you to them. However, as always is the case, and you know how I am, I'm not going to let the fact that I got this as a sample unit to review affect what I have to say about the IKKO. I will, as I always do, give my honest and sincere opinion about a product. Anyway, this is the box, a very simple box. Doesn't exactly follow, to a certain extent, at least the higher end product's presentation, but it's fine. I'm not here complaining. Inside, we open it up, the IEMs came over there. Some tips, which I actually am using the stock tips. Let me just quickly show you. You can see they are like some sort of like white bores. I am actually using the stock tips. They work perfectly. There was no need for me to change it. Okay, that's it. Oops, let me put this nicely in its place, if it will go, of course. There we go. The cable, simple. Look, we always go back to that question, or that issue of, we're talking $80. For $80, is it a cable for an $80 IEM? No, not really. I mean, let's be honest about it. This looks like the cable that comes in some really cheap IEMs. So I think that IKKO could have made a little bit of an effort to at least added a nicer cable, especially if you want to have a product that you want to be competitive, you want it to stand out, you want it to be something that people will want, and not just focus perhaps on the IKKO fans, let's put it that way. Okay, and that's it. There's no case, there's no nothing. So in terms of the accessories, it's the bare minimum. All right. The specs, there are some specs here in the back. They mention a 23 ohm impedance for the IEM, 108 dBs of sensitivity, and it is a pretty easy IEM to drive. I did find, however, that it did benefit from I'm not going to say a warmer source. It benefited from a clean source, be it warm or a brighter source. I'm going to leave it at that, okay? And once I get into the sound, I hope I can explain better what I mean. Anyway, that's the box. It's done. Out of the way. Sorry. The IEMs themselves. Well, as you can see, I'm not using the stock cable. I'm using a IVP-IQ cable. The IEMs themselves, when you look at them, they look very generic. I mean, the moment I looked at them, I'm not going to say I was disappointed, but at the same time I was a little bit disappointed, and I'll explain why. In the OH10s, they've gone along with this philosophy of this beautiful faceplate with a crossover network display, the beautiful shell. I mean, you pick the IEM up and the whole thing just screams premium, period. If you were told that this IEM was an IEM maybe costing $500, I think some people would not really, think twice or flinch, because it does look the part. All right, it does look the part. It's got a nice weight to the shell. The whole thing is very sturdy. It's just a very nicely built IEM. Okay, when they launched the OH300, the single DD, they gave us a resin shell, or plastic resin shell, or plastic shell if you want, but they followed the same philosophy of the faceplate. Crossover network on the faceplate. They kind of gave us that ability to say, well, I'm an IKKO fan, because this differentiates itself. This is something which sets things apart. Okay, it's not the generic faceplate design, or the colored approach, or whatever have you. No, this is different. Very few people, or nobody else actually, is doing anything like this. So obviously and naturally, I was expecting, okay, fine, it's got a plastic resin shell, whatever. Give me the same sort of faceplate. I mean, what is this? Honestly, I mean, I know I'm being hard now, but no. The faceplate does not go along with the philosophy that is being followed by these two other models of the brand. And besides not following that same philosophy, it just looks very let me see if I can actually, I would like it to try and, there we go. It just looks very tacky. I'm sorry to say this, but it looks very cheap. It doesn't give the product that edge of, wow, it looks the part, it looks the business. I'm really sorry to be saying this, but that's what I feel. That's what I see when I look at them. Okay. Otherwise, taking that aside, the fit is quite nice. It's a relatively small shell. I mean, for you to just have a comparison compared to the OH300, which is a single DD, you can see that the OH300 is a much bigger IEM, basically empty inside, while this one is cramped full of BAs and DD. So it's a nice shell, fits nicely. The tips work nicely. The nozzle has got a relatively larger than usual diameter, but nothing that's offensive. Sturdy. It's got a sturdy build, that's for sure. Just the faceplate that I honestly think that they should have made it to be since this is becoming an iconic sign for them, a signature for them in terms of the design. Do the same thing. Even if that means it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but do the same thing. People appreciate that. I can guarantee that people appreciate that. Okay. Anyway, that's the physical aspect of things. It's a 1+4, like I mentioned. One BA sits in the nozzle, and the other 3 are distributed in the shell around the driver. And that's it. So let's introduce what I have here, and let's get into the sound. When I listened to it the first time, I was automatically reminded of IEMs other IEMs that I have and that I've owned and that I own. So it wasn't very difficult for me to quite quickly come to those IEMs that I thought sounded the same. I've got here the CCA C10, which was a nice IEM, honestly. The CCA C10 and the ZS10 were basically launched at the same time. The ZS10 Pro, basically launched at the same time. This was actually the sequel to the ZS10, and a much better sequel, mind you. What differentiated the two, because they were in essence basically the same thing, using the same, roughly the same drivers and everything, was that this one had one driver in the nozzle, 3 on the shell, while the CCA had 2 drivers in the nozzle, 2 in the shell, and the DD. And that made it sound slightly different. I thought, and I've always thought, that this was actually the better of the two. Okay, this one that's here is one that I've modified with a very simple mod, very simple mod, and it makes the C10 an unbelievable little IEM. And I actually, honestly, I'm not going to say encourage, but those that do have it, get a 10th strum Tanya or a 10th strum oxygen filter and put it on there, and then tell me what you think. Seriously, just that in itself will make a huge difference. I've done something else to it, but just that, and I had it like that for a long time, makes a tremendous difference. So I've got the CCA C10. Okay, let's forget the modified one, and let's forget as well the ZS10 Pro. Next to it, I've got here the KBear Robin, also a 1+4, also with the configuration of 3 BAs in the shell with the DD and then 1 on the nozzle. And it was an IEM that I liked. I enjoyed it. I found it a little bit dark, but we'll get to that when I start talking about the sound and you'll understand why. But overall, I liked it. It had a nice warm sound, and which pleased those that were perhaps not treble fans. Okay, then last year we got an updated version of the ZS10 Pro, the Pro X, which is this one here, which has all the BAs in the shell, so no BAs in the nozzle, and this is unquestionably the better one of this, let's say, sequence of IEMs following more or less the same philosophy and so on. Also a newer DD driver, very nice sound, a very nice sound. At the time when I reviewed it, and I just reviewed the TRN ST5, I actually said that these two were probably the sheriff and the deputy because they really came and shook that you know, 1+4 market quite nicely in the budget realm, obviously quite nicely. ST5, like I was saying, probably the better of the two, although some people did find it to be a little bit treble intense. I didn't find it too treble intense, although you know, fair enough. I am becoming deaf, so I guess it doesn't affect me as those of you which are still in your full function capabilities of hearing. And of course, then I've got here the OH300 and the OH10s. Let's start then comparing. Okay, sound of the High Ear C. I'm just going to call it C from now on for the sake of just being easy. So sound of the C. The C is definitely sounds V-shaped, very thick bass. You notice it if you listen to the OH300 and the OH10s. You notice that the house sound is here. That's unquestionable. So that thick, big bass, it is here. However, I feel that obviously the driver quality here is not the same driver quality as in the OH10s. I'm not sure about if it's the same driver as in the OH300. I'm not sure about that. But the driver here, or the way that it's been tuned, it's got loads of bass, yes, but it hasn't got the most detailed bass. It's a bass that, because of the way that it's been tuned, maybe if they'd just given it, maybe the addition of a little switch to just bring down the bass just a smidge, especially the mid bass, would have probably cleaned it up and made it, you know, be a little bit more along the lines of this. Because what I'm basically trying to say is that, and it's going to be very much track dependent and genre dependent. On some songs, the bass here is very nice. It's still more of a bouncy bass, you know, very fun, very engaging, but not a very resolving, clean bass. While you listen to the same song on the OH300 and it's got just that little extra cleanliness, and then you take that same song and you listen it on the OH10 and you say to yourself, how on earth is a 1+1 playing this way? How are they doing it? Please explain to me. Because the OH10 is, seriously, I didn't have a good experience with the original OH10. That was since resolved. I've got another OH10, fantastic IEM. The OH10s is just basically a polished up version of the original OH10. But be it the OH10 or the OH10s, a phenomenal IEM, not the IEM that you're obviously going to be looking at if you are wanting to be the most technically inclined in this. No, but if you want a real fun IEM that does bass properly, yes, it's V-shaped, fine, but it does bass really properly, and it's as simple as it can possibly be. I mean, simpler than this, it would be just having the DD there. Okay, this is the thing for you, because it is the quality of the OH10 in its bass, mid bass, and even in the mids is fantastic. A true testament that the driver being used here is top notch. So the bass, it will be that its performance will, or at least its cleanliness, it's how dynamic it will be very much dependent on what you like listening to. Okay, that obviously there's bleed into the mids. Those mids make the male vocals feel too husky, too emphasized. Okay, they lose that clarity that if that bass was cleaner like it is over here, you would have, and that the bass on the OH10 occasionally does have. It does sometimes also smear a little bit, but ultimately, look, it's very close. Okay. The only thing that I go and give in favor of the OH300 is it just a little bit quicker the bass, so it kind of edges out the C more times than the C edges out the OH300. Okay, the mids itself are basically already being handled to a great extent with the BAs already helping out. So the mids by themselves and the upper mids and the treble, they're not bad. They're actually not bad. It's got loads of extension. You know, they pretty clean. There's an area there around the 5K, 4 to 6K area. It's a little bit over energetic, but because you got so much bass from behind, you don't really feel it. Okay. you know, the biggest issue, like I said, is that the bass, the way that it's present and the way that it bleeds can, for example, on a song like Tequila Moon from Jesse J, it's doing everything that it has to do up top, but because the bass is so thick, so big, it just makes it overly warm. It colors it in an excessive way. Piece of Me from Candace Springs, kind of the same situation happens there. Elephant from Carol Duboc, however, actually it's a song that it does nicer. The bass cleans up. Everything comes together in a nicer manner. And you know, you listen to the. I'm not going to mention too much the OH10s because the OH10s always comes out on top. Okay, let's be frank about it. In my opinion, there was not one song that the OH10s didn't do better than these two. All right, and that's to be expected. This is $200, in my opinion. If it didn't do that, then something was wrong here. Now, there were occasions, and for example, Piece of Me on the OH300, it actually sounded better, cleaner, more dynamic, you know. Tequila Moon as well, cleaner. You know, it was being able to keep up a lot of the times with the C and being cleaner slightly. And I think it's just down to the fact that the way that the driver itself is actually a better quality, because it's in essence even got more bass than the C. And when I show the graph, you'll understand. Okay, so in terms of its frequency response, this is not going to be an IEM that you're going to use for monitoring. So you know, when they kind of write on the box here, golden tone in ear monitors, or monitoring grade. I don't know about the monitoring grade. If you're talking about a fun, engaging, bouncy sound, definitely. I mean, what you're gonna do from Frank McComb does it beautifully. You know, Acid Dreams, beautifully, really nice. It's got all the energy that it's needed. If you listen to dub music, yeah, fine, it will do good. Drums from Lemon and Herb, perfect. You know, so all the songs that, let's say, are going to be EDM or electronic music or house or that kind of stuff, that's very, very bass emphasized. This does it like a boss. Honestly, it does it like a boss. No problems there. But you know, I want it to be a little bit more than just one party trick. I want it to be an IM that can play a few things. And so when it comes to vocals, and female vocals get very much overpowered by the amount of bass you have. Very few instances where their songs with the female vocals actually shined, and when they did, it was because there wasn't much bass present. So you know, let me see here. If we were talking about here, let me just get the song here for 1 second for you guys. Okay, so if we were talking about in terms of female vocals, In a Sentimental Mood by Cecile Norby, yes, her voice actually sounds nice here. A little bit warm because you've got that bass still there, but the bass, because it isn't present that much in the music, or not, or very little, it doesn't overpower her voice. So her voice comes across in a nice manner. It comes across like, for example, in the OH10s, you know. And yes, it is cleaner than on the OH300 because the BAs are doing their job, so you get that little extra twinkly and sparkly, unquestionable. In that department here, you notice that there's a marked difference. There isn't as much detail here as there is there. That's why they've already by the start pushed the upper mids to try and compensate, you know. But you feel that everything here is more harsh. It's not as polished, not as clean as it is on the C. So yes, of course. But if you take Riviera from Bob Zapp, okay, fine. Then the difference isn't much apart from a little bit more of a twinkly and a sparkly here. That's it, you know. But you listen to that same song, you know, Riviera on the OH10s, and the bass and it's just got a different vibe to it, you know. It's just got that. It's just different, and different in a good way, mind you. House of Groove from Eugene Groove, again, does it well. I would have liked just maybe just a little bit more cleanliness in the way it hits. Not bad, definitely not bad, but just a little bit more cleanness. The sax doesn't offend me. It sounds perfect in the sax. Yeah, there are no issues there. La Belle Dame Sans Remorse from Chris Botti as well. The trumpet sounds fine. The only issue here is that excess bass can on occasion just make things be overly thick, overly colored. I mean, it's not really a big deal breaker, but I'm just trying to make sure that you guys understand. This is going to be an IEM that's going to be very much focused on specific genres. Rock, I guess, will be a good IEM for rock. But it won't be an IEM where you want to listen to classical and listen to classical in a more correct manner. Or understand? No, it's not. Compared then to some of these IEMs here that I selected, so that you guys can at least have an idea. Obviously, the C10 is by all intents and purposes outdated, and were it not for the peaks that it has at 2-ish K and then at 4-ish K, it actually wouldn't be bad. That's why I did that mod I did on that one, to do away with those peaks, and it sounds fantastic. So if I was to compare it with the modified one, I would say the modified one can hold its own with the C. Can hold its own and actually be better than the C, because the bass, although they graph very similar, the bass there just sounds a little bit leaner. Doesn't sound as thick as over here. Compared to the stock C10, it is a better IEM, even with these. I wouldn't really say it's flaws. This is the result of what they were pretending. This is what they wanted. Thick bass, and they got the thick bass. Maybe I think a better quality driver would have given them that same thickness in the bass, but with an extra bit of quality by being snappier, cleaner. Okay. So compared to that, definitely better. Compared to the Robin, again, very similar. The bass, I mean, the Robin is even got more. You even notice more the bass, because it isn't as clean up top as the C. So the C, ultimately, yes, it is a better IEM than the Robin. It's got that same. Actually, when you look at the graphs, they are uncannily similar. It's got that same vibe going. The way that they've distributed the BAs and everything. Just that this has got way more extension, especially past 10K than that. So it's got a little more extra twinklies and sparkles. So better IEM compared, and it's probably out of all the IEMs here where you notice the least the BA timbre. Okay, here you can pick up on it on occasions. Yes, definitely you can. There, you definitely do. Yeah, you can pick up on occasions. Over there, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And again, it's like that because of the way they've tuned it. ZS10 Pro X. The ZS10 Pro X, in my opinion, the balance that they've struck between the bass and then the mids and the highs is better than here, in the sense that it makes it more genre versatile. You don't get that overly thickness across the majority of vocal voices of female vocals. You don't get that over thickness as well across the range of male. It's just cleaner. It just sounds cleaner. What is the price that you pay for that added cleanliness? And that is that it can, especially when you start pushing the volume, and with certain songs, it can reach a perception of harshness quicker than the C. But I guess that is also down to the fact that the C, although they again graph very similar in the bass, the C has got a more present bass. Okay, but anyway, like I was saying, putting one having a more present bass aside, and the other one maybe getting a little bit on the harsh side when you start pushing the volume. If I have to be totally honest, between these two, I personally feel that that's got the more balanced sound. Okay, it's got the better, the most harmonious sound of the two, compared to the ST5. The ST5, I repeat very much what I just said about the ZS10 Pro X. However, the ST5, yes, okay, at lower volumes, it is, let's exclude these two here. It is probably the better one out of everything, because the extra detail that it's got, the way that they've tuned the BAs, it just got loads of twinklies and sparklies and everything. It's a very detailed IEM. Technically, it's probably as well the better one, without question. But its problem is when you start pushing the volume, and if you don't have a source which is not going to potentiate that aspect even more. So if you choose a warmer source on the ST5, the ST5 will be a better IEM than the C. Unfortunately, that's the truth. It is again more balanced out across the range of the frequencies. Yes, you do notice that BA timbre, yes, but if you choose a warmer source, you can bring that issue, you can control that issue, and the end result that you get is a very nice result. I mean, when I said that the ST5 was probably one of the better budget OnePlus 4s, I didn't say it just for the sake of saying it, because I felt like, no, it is truly one of the better OnePlus 4s, and it still is one of the better today, even with its minor flaws. Technically, having this amount of bass, yes, it doesn't exactly give you a big wide soundstage. No, the perception of soundstage that you do get here, a lot of the times it's more down to the fact that you have a lot of energy in the upper mids and treble, and that extension past 10k than necessarily it being a result of a well done tune, and them wanting to sound like it had a big soundstage. Imaging, it's okay. I guess I can accept it. That's got better imaging. Even the OH300 has better imaging on occasions. Okay. Detailed retrieval, again, it's all right. Resolution, it's again okay. I mean, I guess the only technicality here that I would probably say that it kind of saves it to a certain extent, although that energy in the bass is a little bit excessive, is the timbre and the tonality. And it's just, how can I explain this? Both the OH300 and the OH10s have got loads of bass as well, but for some reason the timbre and the tonality that comes across is more conducive with the reality. It's more correct. This one, I don't know. I honestly don't know, and I insist in what I've been saying. I think it's just down to the actual driver that they've chosen. It just sounds too thick, and it's very genre dependent. You listen to Analog from Soul Persona and Princess Frasier, okay, it sounds all right, but you listen to Sweat from the JK Review mix. No, You from Cecile Norby, so Moon River from Jacinta, so Tequila Moon from Jessie J. However, if I give it EDM, if I give it some rock music, which I don't listen to a lot, but if I give it that, it feels more at home with those genres. So I would say that yes, if that's your genre of music that you like listening to, definitely an IEM worth considering. If you like all the twinklies and sparklies and a clinical presentation, that's where I think that switch maybe could have been a saving grace, because if you were able to bring down the bass, let's say 3 dBs, okay, especially at mid bass, so that it wouldn't bleed as much into the mids, I think that you could have a presentation here which is very much along the lines of the presentation of the ZS10 Pro X, because the reality is that Pro X, when you compare it with the ST5, it doesn't suffer of the same amount of BA timbreness or metallicness. And here, by bringing down the bass, yes, you would perhaps be more prone to noticing that BA timbre, but I don't think it would be anything that would be offensive truly, and it would just be able to showcase an overall nicer performance, because I mean, in essence, it's not a bad IEM. It isn't. It's just very specific on what it is capable of doing. And the other thing, like I mentioned earlier, that I wish they had done as well is, not the other thing, but the one thing that I wish they would have done, at least in the physical aspect of it, is they should have given it the faceplate like the OH300 and like the OH10s. I mean, this is IKKO. You put this in your ears, and anybody that's in this hobby will immediately say, okay, that's an IKKO. Wow. Same thing with the OH10s. People recognize it straight away. You have this in your ears, and honestly, Anyway, guys, let me show you now quickly the graphs, and we'll wrap it up. All right, take care. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section for the High Ear C from IKKO. This is the graph of the high ear. As you can see, markedly V-shaped. I mean, we're talking about 66 to 79, 13 dBs of gain into the base. 66 to 75 more or less, so 9 dBs of gain into the mids and upper mids, which is more sensible. So I mean, definitely a lot of energy there below 100 hertz, which is very overpowering. A significant amount of bleed, which just, it's a pity because, again, on some songs, it's not as bad, but it's just got too much bleed. It's just too much, and let me straight away start comparing it with the OH300. Okay, this is the OH300. You would say, oh, but Acros, Tony, but the OH300's even got more. And yes, okay, fine. But the fact that it has this energy in the upper mids, okay, it allows then for that perception to be slightly attenuated, and what comes across is a more snappiness in that bass hits, in those drums. It just they become a little bit more snappy, okay. And ultimately as well, if you pay if you pay careful attention, is you see they matched the perceived sound is more matched across the extremes of the frequency. All right. Yes, again, true. OH300 and the C have got a lot of energy there below 100 hertz, but in the C it's skewed towards the bass. You see, it just stays on top of the mids. It overpowers the mids. Okay. So that's that. Let's compare it now first with the ZS10. Well, second ZS10. Sorry, not the ZS10. The C10. The CCA C10. And as you can see, like I mentioned, a lot of similarities in the graph. Huh? Look at that. A lot of similarities. Peaks in the same places. Very, very similar. What obviously this means is that, and if you again look at that way that things are skewed, you can see that a slight better balance, true, but these peaks, they manifest themselves a little bit more. So the treble BA note, the BA timbre, sorry, is more noticeable. It's just less polished. It's not as polished. Okay, that's why I did that small little mod, and I'll just show it to you quickly so you guys can see what I did. And with that small little mod, I've done away with this first peak basically to a certain extent. Maintained that I've just cleaned it up here, and because I've skewed it as well in a way that this becomes more prominent, because the reality is the C10, it might graph this way, like it's got a lot of bass, and if you compare it, let me just take away the modified one. If you compare it with the C, you would say, it's about the same bass, but no, the C's just got it's more there. You feel it more. Okay, it's more. So doesn't the C10 really shows its age. Let's put it that way. The C is better. Okay, compared to the ZS10 Pro X, different story. The bass, you see how things are more balanced. You got a little extra energy there between 2 and 4K. So look, you see things slightly more balanced, so you don't feel that the bass is so overpowering. Besides, the energy that you have below 100 hertz, you can see, so not as much bleed, while over there you've got it's a lot more. It doesn't seem like it, but it's a lot more energy below 100 hertz. Okay, so it just thickens up things too much. It just makes the early parts of the bass after 60 hertz to just sound just overly thick. Just it's too much. Plenty extension. This area here is being purposely dipped so that you don't really notice any sibilance or anything. Which, truthfully, I also didn't notice it on the C. And it's a nice IEM. The KZ is a nice IEM. Okay, yes, you can feel the BA timbre when you push the volume a little bit more and so on, but nothing which is honestly offensive or anything. Oh no, my God, it's a disgrace. No. Okay, so that's that one out of the way. Next one now, I've shown you the CCAs. Next one now is the KBear, the Robin. And again, look how similar those two go. Huh? Now that's similar. That's really similar. Loads of bass, loads of bleed. If you're not a treble fan, fine. But, not again a very versatile IEM. And the C is better, even with its flaws that it has. The C is a better IEM. All right, so that's the KBear out of the way. The C, ST5. There we go, ST5. Again, the secret of the success of the ST5 is the way that it's balanced out. I'm going to call your attention again to that. See, look there, bass and the mids are almost the same level, and dip again there in that problematic area sometimes, and then a couple of bit extension past 10k, and that extension stays at least at the same level as the lowest part here of the mids. So very open sounding, very open sounding. The problem is that the BA timbre is noticeable if you have a brighter source. If you choose a darker source, not as noticeable compared to the C. The bass driver, because it's a beryllium coated driver, it just sounds quicker, it sounds snappier, because you can see the bass is more or less the same. It just sounds much quicker, very much the same from, let's say, 100 hertz up to about almost 4k. They're basically the same thing. Then at 4k, that's where you have that little difference here, which, like I said, you don't notice sibilance, or you don't notice this area to be an issue on the ST5. You don't notice it as well on the C. On the ST5, you don't notice it because it's been done like that, because if it was energetic, you would probably pick up on it, because of, like I said, the BAs, you notice them more. On the C, you don't notice it because you got that monstrous amount of bass from behind. All right, so that's that one out of the way. And I've shown you the OH300. We've seen it. Okay, and that leaves us with the OH10S, which basically the same sort of bass. Everything up to about 2.2k is the same. Just that then the OH10S has got a little bit more energy there in that area. Very much what happens as well with the OH300. Very much what happens as well with the KZ. And what that ultimately means is that not only is the bass quality better, although in terms of quantity it seems the same, but it's got the same quantity but with way better quality, okay, clean, detailed. But this way that the upper mids here have been tuned helps to give that bass the dynamic feel that it should have. Okay, it's then got pretty decent extension as well, past 10k, as you can see. So the OH10S, if you guys haven't listened to the OH10S or the OH10, listen to it. Go with an open mind. Don't go expecting to listen to a blessing 2 or something of the sort. Go with an open mind, and I can guarantee that you will be impressed. As for the High Ear C, I would say, and hopefully with my review you will better understand how it stands, or where it stands, or what's the intended purpose of the IM. I would say that to a certain extent, I guess the goals have been obtained. It's got the IKKO house sound, yes, all fine. I just feel that, let's forget the cable, screw the cable. The faceplate should have been a faceplate like the OH300 and like the OH10S, to continue that design philosophy. So that for me is something which I think they failed. This is going to be hard what I'm going to say. They failed monumentally on that one, in my opinion. They failed, because if that meant the IEM, instead of costing $70 or $80, was going to cost $90 or $100, then be it, okay? And then on the tuning side, for it to be truly competitive, they could have added a switch or a removable nozzle, where that removable nozzle would lower the energy of the bass slightly, okay? And then you could basically choose what you wanted. You would still, because the truth is this, if the quality of the driver is better, then maybe they can get away with the tuning being like this. if the quality of the driver was to be maintained by just lowering it a little bit, by lowering it like 2 dBs, just bring it lower. Okay, you see this line that I have there? Okay, bring it to the level of the line there, and then starts dropping proportionally. Okay, even if by 200 it was already the same thing, I am positive that you would not lose that IKKO house sound. It would still be present, and the overall presentation of the High Ear C would be completely different. It would be a very solid transition from the OH300 to it, okay, and you would still have enough of a justification to then move on to the OH10s. All right, that's my opinion. And besides the fact that they would have an IEM, hybrid, one plus 4 hybrid, priced at around, let's say for the sake of argument, $100, that would be way more competitive than what it currently is, because it's very genre specific. It's going to be it's not going to be as broad as possibly it could have become. All right, anyway guys, as always, like and subscribe. If there's any questions you want to ask me or anything, you just pop in the messages what it is, and I'll do my best to answer as quickly as possible. You take care now. Bye bye.